We help families cultivate the magic that happens when they slow down and leave their screens behind and allow the natural world to feed their children's minds and spirits.
Welcome to the Healthy Screen Habits Podcast. I'm Hillary Wilkinson. Whether you're starting your parenting journey with a newborn or looking to connect with your teen on technology, let's learn some new healthy screen habits together. As we round the corner on spring, many of us are looking ahead to summer months and lots of fun. So, in my family, this often includes a brainstorming session for like a bucket list of fun things to do and a big push to be outside. And sometimes it can help to have a boost in the brainstorming department. And this year, I'm really excited for our newest boost, which is going to be this fantastic resource being distributed by the Nature and Play work group from the Screen Action Network at Fair Play, a work group that yours truly is both a member and supporter of. My guest today is one of the co-chairs of the Nature and Play work group. She's someone whom I've had the pleasure of meeting with regularly online as this resource went from idea to design to release and is just a fantastic person all the way around. I'm thrilled to say welcome to Healthy Screen Habits, Jean Rystrom.
Thank you so much, Hillary, and thank you so much for having me on your podcast.
I'm excited you're here. I'm excited to talk about this. Feels like it's been a while in the works.
It has been, me too.
So just in case we have listeners who haven't had a chance to learn about the Screen Time Action Network at Fair Play, I'm going to spend a little bit chatting about that at first. So the Action Network is a coalition of practitioners, educators, advocates, and parents working to promote a healthy childhood by reducing the amount of time kids spend with digital devices. And within this network are a series of work groups, each with their own mission that sort of collectively supports the greater mission. Jean, what can you tell us about the Nature and Play work group and its specific mission?
We promote nature as a healthier alternative, even maybe an antidote to screen time.
Mm-hmm.
We help families cultivate the magic that happens when they slow down and leave their screens behind and allow the natural world to feed their children's minds and spirits. Work group members include people who have children, who work with children, or who are otherwise working to improve the lives of children by increasing the amount of time children spend playing in nature.
I love it. And I love that you mention the thing that we are hearing more and more about, which is the antidote quality that nature has for tech. It's recently been brought to my attention that there are several pediatricians in our area. I don't know if this is like gone national or not, but who are actually prescribing 2 hours of outdoor play a day for eye health.
Absolutely. I think pediatricians are really at the forefront of this in two different ways. One way is that they see the harms and really want to help families get to the alternatives. But the other way is that they also have to deal with reality and where families are currently. So their job really is to help families move from where they are now to a place that's a little bit healthier.
Yeah, yeah. So, what brought you to the Action Network?
Well, I've sort of been with the Action Network from before the beginning, I would say. I've been involved with screen time reduction efforts since my son was born in the late 1990s. Um, and because I was working in healthcare with pediatricians, I was aware of the many negative risks that were associated with screen time. So I started applying what I was learning both at home and at work. Because pediatricians are able to raise awareness of the risks associated with screen time, increases in obesity, bullying, other aggressive behaviors, smoking, depression, early sexual activity, and decreases in attention, academic success, and sleep.
Mm-hmm.
So at the same time, my public health friends were suggesting that the most powerful approach to helping people to reduce their screen time was to offer alternatives. Instead of just saying, don't do this, tell them what they can do instead. So spending time in nature was a really obvious choice when I came to that. That led me to co-create a parks prescription program with local city parks and recreation departments. Our pediatricians were able to advise their patients to get more time in nature and more activity, sort of like what you're talking about, prescribing 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And then the beauty of this particular program was that we connected those families directly with their local parks and recreation departments. So instead of just a prescription, you go figure out how you're going to fill it. We actually came up with a way of filling it as well.
I'm having a full circle moment here because I can tell you several years back, my family and I were en route to Yosemite and we stopped via Hanford to get ice cream at Superior Dairy, which is
That's specific.
always recommended because, oh my gosh, I don't know. Their cookies and cream is something that will haunt you the rest of the year.
Okay.
No, so Hanford is this adorable little kind of inland empire town in California that has really retained a lot of its kind of vintage magic and feel. And but it gets hot, so very hot. And we were waiting on our ice cream and we went across and there was a person there who was writing an article for like the Hanford Gazette or whatever their local newspaper is about a parks prescription program. And I'm like, I don't know if you had your hands down in California on that or not, but I clearly remember this. And she came and she interviewed my kids because she saw them playing around the fountain and things like that. So full circle moment here, Jean.
Yeah, absolutely.
Uh,
So,
so
just to finish my answer to your question, I joined the Nature and Play Work group because I thought we might want to further highlight and promote nature-based alternatives to screen time.
yeah, yeah. And so all of your professional and recreation life kind of merged. Sounds
Right.
like. Yeah, perfect. Well, when we come back, we're going to be talking about the newest resource from the Nature and Play work group that's going to inspire us all to get outside, not unlike the Parks prescription program, by keeping tech in its lane and getting us all outdoors.
At what age should I give my child a smartphone? How much screen time should I allow each day? What are the best filters to use on my family's devices? Sound familiar? These questions and more are answered at the Healthy Screen Habits website. We've curated the best articles, books, videos, and many other resources to help you figure out how you want to use technology in your life. Click on the awareness section to learn about the issues and dangers surrounding screen use. Then click on the Tools page to download printables you can use with your family today, including the Healthy Screen Habits Family Technology Plan. Visit our website at www.healthyscreenhabits.org for the resources and tools you need to get started.
I'm speaking with Jean Rystrom, who retired after 30 years of working for the medical group of Kaiser Permanente as an administrator of pediatric services and a national leader on screen time reduction. So, Jean, let's jump into it. Let's talk about this amazing resource I've been teasing, the Children and Family Nature Inspiration Guide. Can you tell us what it is?
For sure. So, as you said, we just launched it, and the purpose is to help parents who want to give their children the myriad gifts that nature provides, but maybe they're not sure about how or where to start to reawaken their children's innate capacity for imaginative, unstructured outdoor play. So, the Inspiration Guide is a beautiful poster-like list of 12 different web pages from different organizations. It has lovely illustrations of kids having fun outdoors in both urban and park-like settings. It's designed for the busy parent who already knows that more time in nature and less time with screens would be beneficial for their family, but maybe who needs some quick ideas and maybe encouragement in order to take action. There are quick descriptions of each resource with a link to the web page. And often the web pages that we have linked to offer a wealth of wonderful content. You could spend hours on those websites, but we hope users will explore. But the sheer volume can be overwhelming to the parent who just needs a quick idea. And so that's why we came up with something that you can use right now. You can zero in on something that you want to use, maybe an example for getting started, such as things you can do with sticks, or maybe an FAQ about common challenges, such as every time I try to get my kids to go for a hike, they groan, or maybe I live in the city. What am I going to do? So if you access the guide through the Action Network website or the QR code, there are live links to each resource. So you can very quickly click right into each one.
One thing I happen to know a little bit about the guide because we've worked on
Yeah.
it together. But one thing that I just wanted to point out is, we're dropping this episode right before the summer months because it's timely to do so. But summer is often the season that most people think about getting outside. And I think it's also important for people to know that this guide was really designed for year-round use. It's not weather specific, it's not seasonally specific. So it can be used. It's something maybe you could print out the guide and just, put it in your stash of things to be used at a later time.
This is an all-weather idea. It's a year-round concept that we want kids to be outside, and usually, the appropriate clothing and gear makes it fun, easy, and safe to be outdoors.
Yeah. What's that saying? I don't know if I believe this because I'm a
No
truly
bad weather.
wimpy Californian. Yeah. But the no bad weather, only bad clothing yeah.
I think
But
there are a few exceptions to that. Maybe tornado weather.
I am, like I said, dyed in the wool, just truly wimpy Southern Californian. I have about a 20-degree variant in which I'm comfortable, and otherwise I'm way too cold or way too hot. So, oh,
Well, my co-chair, Heather, lives in Wisconsin, and so she has more of that seasonal challenge than you do. And I'm in Portland, Oregon, and we don't really have much of a seasonal challenge if you don't mind getting wet.
uh-huh.
Uh, but there are plans and ideas that will get you outside in pretty much any weather.
Yeah, yeah, no, and I know that we specifically looked for those things. So, Jean, are there targeted age ranges for the guide, or is it like what if people are listening and they're thinking, oh, that sounds nice for little guys, but what are the full age ranges offered?
Right. I think it really covers all ages, including even me. We were out on a hike not too long ago, and I was looking in this beautiful stream where there was a bunch of really gorgeous pebbles, and I was thinking, oh, I might like to arrange those pebbles around a rock. Um, so it just because it sounds like a toddler idea, it may not even be a toddler idea. But also, many of our items are explicitly for older kids. And so we really have things for kids and adults of all ages. So, for example, in Let Grow, there's independence inventory for tweens and teens. On the Nature Play QLD website, there's something called 30 Challenges Before Prep. Well, this is in Australia, and their ideas, of course, are perfectly applicable everywhere, but prep, I think they mean more like, upper high school or college. So
Yeah.
they're definitely talking about teens. Or the Children in Nature Networks Together in Nature Guide lists ideas for teens on page 11. So there are ideas for older kids, and as I said, many of them would apply to any adult who's feeling just a little bit playful.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's the beauty of being outside in nature as well, is it kind of taps that curiosity that maybe gets squelched in a lot of adult settings, inside in meetings, whatever. But when you get outside, you can follow an ant trail, or you can do, things, and you find yourself doing things that are somehow familiar because they're things that you did when you were much younger. And it's fun to share those with your kids as well. And I
Absolutely.
think you mentioned Let Grow, and I just, Jonathan Haidt's book is kind of all over the digital wellness field currently and beyond. And he's a member of the Let Grow board. And I just want to reiterate the importance of the unstructured time outside that you said that I mean, that is something that Let Grow and Jonathan Haidt bring up again and again, is the importance of allowing the time for creativity and problem solving, and risk taking within measure, appropriate risk taking for our younger set.
Absolutely. And I think a lot depends on where your starting point is. So if your starting point is that the kids haven't been playing outside for a long time, and you're just trying to get into it a little bit more, then you might provide a little more structure on the front end. And then the kids gradually work into taking it from there on their own. But if your kids are already spending a fair amount of time outdoors, they may not need anything. It could be literally go outside, see what's there. Or it could be go outside, here's some ideas. Or it could be let's all go outside and I'll help you with some ideas. There's a full range of possibilities depending on the situation.
So, a lot of times, going back to our online life, we get pitched, I'm using air quotes, good
Mm.
ideas or, resources from things that are all online, but we don't really know where these ideas or the advice originates from. Can you speak to how the sources in the inspiration guide kind of got vetted?
Oh, absolutely. So we had several criteria that we used. So I'm going to list some of those. They had to be free. You don't have to pay for them. They have to be easy to access, and they have to be actionable for families. So you don't have to be a teacher, and you don't have to do a ton of prep. Offer activities for a range of ages. They have to be fun, and of course, they have to be from those trusted and well-respected experts and organizations. So I have some examples about how it might work for you. So maybe you've got some energetic kids in the house and you're desperate to get them outside right now. And you need to tell them you have some kind of a plan for something fun to do. So you take a quick look at the creative play in nature, the first thing on our list. And it gives you a number of ways to play with leaves. You select a couple and you head out the door with a plan. So there's
Mm-hmm.
a nice, easy, I just needed an idea. Or maybe you've got some time to plan, and maybe you're taking care of a group of children next week for a whole day, and it includes other people's kids, and you've got to plan something. And maybe there's one of the parents that you've got to kind of convince that this is going to be an okay plan. So you look through the family starter guide, which is resource 3-1, where you find information about the benefits of outdoor play that you can share with that parent. And it also provides you with a reminder about things you might want to bring, snacks, water, sunscreen, extra clothes, provides some simple play ideas, and also an FAQ. Or maybe you're a little concerned about the risks that are associated with playing outdoors and you want to encourage play without dampening your kids' enthusiasm. So you can look at Backwoods Mama's great phrases like instead of, oh, don't do that or whatever, you can say, notice how. So notice how
Mm.
those rocks are slippery instead of, don't go there, you might slip, but rather notice how those rocks are slippery. So that noticing, you were talking about that a little bit before, and I was thinking about my son's first and second grade teacher who was so incredibly wonderful. And she was teaching the kids notice and wonder. So I'll
Mhm.
actually, I'm going to try to talk about that again later. But so things like notice how, or, if you're worried that they might be venturing someplace that's a little dicey, like, do you feel, do you feel stable on that rock? Do you feel, that you're,
Oh,
you
so
know,
important, the
yeah,
language around it. Rather, instead of be careful or
right.
yeah, or
Yeah,
don't slip or
right.
yeah, all of those things. Yeah,
Right,
all these
right.
negative. I love that. I love,
Yeah,
love that. And it's encouraging but supportive language.
exactly right. Yeah. And it teaches them that they are the source of their own sense about what's safe.
Hmm.
And that they can moderate that themselves and evaluate it themselves, which of course sets them up for a lifetime.
Sure,
Yeah.
absolutely. And to really trust that kind of inner feeling for them.
Yeah,
Like, notice
exactly.
how you're feeling. Do you feel safe? You
Right.
know? And if they're thinking, no, I don't, then you think, well, what could you do to help yourself? You
Mhm.
know?
Exactly right. A
Oh,
great follow-up. Yeah. So,
yeah.
another scenario might be that you live in a huge city and you say, well, there's no nature here. Well, of course there is. Um, Maybe it's not even safe to go outside, but there's still ideas in this guide, such as maybe if you have a balcony, you could build a balcony fort with various materials.
Hmm.
Or you could make a list of the sounds that you can hear from just outside your door. Or there's always indoor gardening. There's a whole list of ideas in many of the resources that you can use if you're in a city. And if maybe you already get your kids outside a lot and you're just like, well, I want to do a little bit more and maybe motivation's flagging a little bit. So you talk as a family and maybe you decide to commit to the 1,000 hours outside concept because that's one of the websites too. That's a lot of time, 1,000 hours. It's a little daunting, 3 hours a day. But together you decide you can do it. So you go to the website for ideas and they have a bunch of trackers that you can fill in a little section of every time you spend an hour outside so you can see how you're doing over the year.
Yeah, and the trackers are beautiful, like beautiful
Right.
medallion-y looking things, or like
Yeah.
they have just a whole bunch of different ones that you can use. So like I find that motivating to color in a little triangle and then like
Yeah.
see it build on itself.
Absolutely. Or, you can take inspiration from the ones that they have and make your own.
Yeah, if you're so inclined.
Yeah. I mean, it could be
I'm
it could be a simple grid, but
yeah.
this will give you some way more creative ideas than that.
Yes, exactly. I really appreciate the time that you just spent kind of talking about setting. You kind of gave us ideas for like right away quick ideas, like if you need
Hmm.
something right away with the going out and collecting leaves and maybe what could you build with these, or create a picture with leaves. And then the other thing that I wanted to follow up with was the sort of like setting expectations for other families if you're planning on having, say, an outdoor day. And I think that that is so critical because it also lets the other family know that your child is going to be offline. So please do not think that if you need to get a hold of them, you should go through me. Do not send them with their own phone, kind of thing. But you're kind of clearly setting these expectations. And I have found even today, I mean, I have my kids are on, I'm on the long end of parenting. I've got older teens and young adult. Um, but even today, when I have said things like, oh, say a friend is coming to stay the night, and I say, we collect all cell phones at night. So if so and so is always welcome. We have a landline that they are more than welcome to use, and they will always be able to get a hold of you. And here's the number to the landline, but we collect cell phones at night. It's so interesting because very often the feedback I get from the other parents is, oh, we started doing that practice too. Or we started, So I think by encouraging other families, just by saying, oh, we're going to be spending this time, up to our knees in mud and elbows in water, like, and like completely offline. Hopefully that is going to provide more of that activity.
Yeah, and I think one aspect that you alluded to is you're actually building your own community, because if the other kids and the other families aren't doing what you're doing, then you have a much harder hill to climb. But if the other families around your children are doing the same thing that you do, which is a thing you can encourage, then you will have a much easier ride, because that's just the way it is. That's what everybody's family does.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm sure that now by now, after hearing just like a smattering of these resources or of these tips that you've been giving, that people are chomping at the bit, wanting to know how to access this amazing resource. So to let you all listening know how to do that, I will link all of these in the show notes, and I'll give directions on how to access those show notes at the end of this episode. Jean, you came from a background of working within the realm of healthcare and specifically pediatrics. So I feel like you have had the benefit of a long view on children's health and how it's been modified with and through the use of digital technologies. And is there anything that you wish parents who are raising today's children, is there anything you wish that every parent knew about tech and nature and play, all of those?
Well, the first thing I want to say is that when I started on this, really the only thing we had to worry about was TV, and we felt like that was, a real challenge. Of course, it's gotten ever so much worse in the time since then, and much, much harder for parents. So I really want to empathize with what parents are up against and the big tech with all of the resources that they bring to bear to get kids and keep kids addicted to their devices. So I always encourage parents to recognize that this is not easy.
Mm.
But I also want them to understand that there is an awful lot at stake. So when we think about, again, all of the risks that are associated with screen time, and I'll just quickly run through that list that's in my brain of depression, sleep, weight, ADHD symptoms, lower academic success, slower development of social skills, reduced impulse control and creativity, all that kind of stuff. That's the bad news. Reducing screen time and increasing time in nature has the potential to address all of those. And where else can you get so much potential benefit from making one change?
Oh my gosh, you're totally right. And for free, mostly.
Yeah, and it's free, right?
Yeah.
In fact, it'll probably cost you a lot less than you would have been paying if you had, and if your kids were subject to the advertisements and wanting, better and better devices, which they're going to do anyway. But I think that the more time they spend outdoors, the more they'll appreciate that, and the less the pressure will be for buying stuff.
For sure.
So playing outside is so much more than physical activity, which itself has many benefits, including fitness, vitamin D, and sleep. But being in nature also enhances focus and attention. It improves problem solving, reduces stress, increases empathy, improves mood. The influence of nature is dramatic and pervasive for all of us. And the thing that always just encapsulated that for me was when there was a study that said that hospital patients, these are generally going to be older, but they're in the hospital for whatever reason that's not happy, who have views of greenery outside their windows, have shorter stays and fewer complications.
Oh, that's interesting.
So if it's that powerful, just imagine what it is for kids. So there's so many risks associated with screen time, but reducing screen time, increasing time in nature has the potential to change that. And that's what I think parents need to know.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Okay, we have to take a short break, but when we come back, I am going to ask Jean Rystrom for her healthy screen habit. We love what we do, and we wouldn't be able to do it without the generous donations provided by our listeners and followers. we want to extend special thanks to the Doctors Petty for their unwavering support of the podcast and organization. If you'd like to make a difference and contribute to the education and empowerment of families building their healthiest screen habits, please go to healthyscreenhabits.org, find the Take Action tab, and scroll down and click the Donate button. 100% of your donation will be used to spread awareness and bring families the tools they need to develop healthy screen habits. My guest today is Jean Rystrom from the Nature and Play Work Group in the Screen Time Action Network at Fair Play. The Nature and Play Work Group focuses on helping families cultivate the magic that happens when they slow down, leave their screens behind, and allow the natural world to feed their children's minds and spirits. Jean, on every episode of the Healthy Screen Habits podcast, I ask for a healthy screen habit. And this is a tip or takeaway that our listeners can put into place nearly immediately. What's yours?
Well, the short version is reduce stress by getting outside and appreciating nature every day, even if it's just for a moment, even if it's just one tree or one bird. But better yet, and a little longer, take a good walk, notice the seasonal changes, and add a question. I was talking about notice and wonder. Like, I wonder which bird is that singing that song? What direction is that cloud traveling in? How long will it be before the flower bud on the bush next door opens up?
Yeah. It's very mindful moving throughout our world. As always, you can find a complete transcript of this show and a link to all of the resources discussed by visiting the show notes for this episode. You do this by going to healthyscreenhabits.org, click the podcast button, and find this episode. Jean, thank you for all that you do for keeping kids a priority and helping families get outside.
Thank you so much, Hillary.
For more information, you can find us on Instagram and Facebook at Healthy Screen Habits. Make sure to visit our website, healthyscreenhabits.org, where you can subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts or via RSS, so you'll never miss an episode. It's free, it's fun, and you get a healthy new screen habit each week. While you're at it, if you found value in this show, we'd appreciate you giving us a quick rating. It really does help other people find us and spread the word of healthy screen habits. Or if you'd simply like to tell a friend, we'd love that too. I so appreciate you spending your time with me this week, and I look forward to learning more healthy habits together.